Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Devin Thomas back with another episode of Unscripted. It's been a good week. It's been a rainy fucking week out here in California. I don't know about everywhere else, but in California particularly, it's been fucking pouring. Raining cats and dogs, as they say. Yeah. So anyways, I've been staying in, really, because of the rain. We got a nice shipment of wood. Some guy from Big Sur, or maybe it was Carmel Valley, I don't know, but it's this hippie dude. He came and delivered some fucking wood, and he was nice. He was, interesting. It's funny, when anyone's not from Salinas Valley, they think we have no idea what the fuck the peninsula is or Big Sur, and it's like, dude, I go here every day. But if they're from there, they think coming to Salinas Valley is a foreign land. They think it's like fucking, like the kid literally was stacking wood. He's like, yeah, he's like, I splitting this wood up in like Palo, Colorado and Big Sur, and Stevie and I were talking to him, and he's like, right, cool. And he's like, do you know where Big Sur is? He's like, are you fucking kidding me? Sometimes I hit Nepenthes for lunch. Anyways, it's just funny, the peninsula syndrome. People out there, they're built different. I mean, I love them, but when you're from Salinas, or, even Salinas Valley, you don't think fucking twice. You're like, yeah, of course. Like, are you kidding? Anyways, it was just funny. He was a nice kid. He was like a stoner, but anyways, the wood was good. Nice little pine, freshly split, a little wet, which, doesn't make it easy to burn, but once it dried out, it's decent, and it was pretty. He gave us a pretty good price. He was even apologizing for the price. I'm like, dude, like, this is a steal for what you're selling it for. But anyways, it's funny. It's funny when you talk to someone who thinks that, us Valley folk don't know nothing about the peninsula, and that's just not the fucking case. It's like, I know all about it. I was like, check out the movie, P. Nights. It's all about the peninsula. Anyways, yeah, so been staying in. I'll give you the quick update on Stevie's health, since it seems to be ever going at this point. He actually saw like a neuromuscle therapist or some shit, some lady from Stanford. She's only in town one day a week. And he happened to just call on a whim. And she's like, come on in tomorrow, Wednesday. Saw her, she did this massage, and she's straight up like, I can fix it. She's like, I don't like fucking, she's like, I go to the 49ers games, I work on NFL players, dudes that are hitting other 300-pound dudes. And she's like, I think I can fix you. She's like, hopefully I don't have to see you again. That's what most of these, doctors say. But long story short, he got a lot of relief with her, and I think it's getting towards a point where he may find like permanent relief. The stomach issues and all that shit has subsided. It's now just this muscular thing, and we're hoping he's out of the woods soon, but not quite. But yeah, he said that really helped. Other than that, we've been kind of hanging out at the house, doing a lot of web development, a lot of business shit. We got some real estate stuff going on. Even tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a little bit more of that commercial cannabis real estate that I mentioned a few pods ago, and got 2 showings actually tomorrow. And anyways, that's more of the business side of my life. But yeah, been staying in, been working on, obviously I have Let Depot going. That's one of our new, websites that we launched, businesses we launched. And I have another thing I'm working on where I'm really excited to do, because it's right in like obviously Lutz are film centric, but this other one is like, let's just say it's more actor centric and casting centric. And I'm really excited to launch that. I've been working on it all fucking week and pretty much all day today. I actually just really dialed in or locked in rather, and was dialing it in, trying to make sure it's perfect. I have a lot of confidence with this one that this will actually be something that not only is popular, but a lot of people are going to fucking use. Really excited about that. So been staying in from the rain, been hitting the gym, kind of doing the grind. There's only so much you can do with this weather, which, really pretty much aside from working, I've been just watching TV, which, it sounds maybe a little dull, but it's also kind of like the thing to do. Like I don't mean it's dull. It's just like, I like to be active. I like to be like working and shooting and working on new projects and getting out of the house and kind of like focusing on the next thing. And, they say idle hands are the devil's playground, and that is to some extent true. I just want to keep moving forward and, see where I can push the needle. Right. And I think I have been moving the needle this week, even with all the other, enterprises we've been working on. But yeah, being inside, I watched a lot of Better Call Saul. We wrapped Breaking Bad, watched El Camino, and now we're pretty deep into Better Call Saul. No spoilers, I haven't finished it, but I remember watching maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then like that was kind of when like watching something premiere on TV kind of died and streaming took over. So like, it's funny. I was like, why did I stop watching the show to begin with? And it was like, that's the exact reason. And I've talked plenty about streaming and Netflix, etc., but watching it now, I mean, God, it's masterful. Yeah, I won't say it's better than Breaking Bad. It's obvious to compare the two, but it's damn good. Damn good. And Bob Odenkirk is so fucking good. Even watching Breaking Bad this last time, I realized how little we actually see Mike or we see Saul Goodman's character in the show. And then now, watching it as an adult, we're not even watching it as an adult, but seeing the sequel series, you see how impactful, even they were only on camera a few times, their minutes on screen were very limited in comparison to, say, Walter and Jesse's character, Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston's character. They were so impactful, they warranted their own television series. And I think it's just completely earned. It's fucking wonderful so far, and I can't wait to finish it. And also the filmmaking is just as masterful. Same team, Vince Gilligan, I think it's Schnoz. I can't remember his name. Maybe it's Thomas Schnoz. And you got Skip McDonald editing. You can just feel the tone of Breaking Bad's there. And it's almost as if they Breaking Bad built the house and this is the fucking roof, whatever you want to use as the analogy. The foundation they had previously to go into the show next, to get another greenlit hit show is incredible in itself. But fuck, man, it's good. Been really enjoying it. So that's been taking up the majority of my viewership this weekend. And I watched some other movies and I'll get to that. But, that's really what I've been up to. That's kind of like the week update, if you want to call it that. I saw some other headlines. I saw, one of my favorite actors. He's the most controversial fucking guy on the planet, Shia LaBeouf, whatever people call him. I call him Shia LaBeouf. So, and I get it. People, it's like Steve Buscemi. Yeah. Well, she's Shia LaBeouf to me. So I got arrested in New Orleans, partying at Mardi Gras. And look, this isn't the first time Shia has been detained or arrested, right? I think he had some shit going on in Europe before COVID. Maybe it was during COVID. I want to say it was before. I think it might have been Ireland. He got arrested. But look, say what you want about the guy. I know he's got other, I don't even know, maybe allegations or conjecture or whatever's been said against him. Despite all that shit, separating the art from the artist, I like his shit. I always have. Since even Steven's on, I've been a fucking fan of Shia LaBeouf. And man, I remember watching a lot of his movies as a kid, particularly Holes. Everybody wanted to be Stanley Yelnats. Maybe you didn't want to be digging that 6-foot fucking hole, but you wanted to be Stanley. If you read the book and then saw the movie, you're like, wow, this is fucking amazing, Who didn't want to eat that fucking jar of peaches, right? It's a classic. I think people don't think about this too. Think about how long Shia LaBeouf's been famous. He's been famous since he's been a fucking kid. He's talking about troubled childhood and all that shit. But he's been famous so long, and sometimes I think when you're that famous for that long, you get stuck in what I call the fame trap. Because seeing how he reacted in New Orleans at the Mardi Gras parade celebration, you know what? I think he's just over it. And, rightfully so, some people will be like, how can he complain? He's famous. It's I get that. Nobody wants to hear a famous person complain. I think he's pretty chill, despite being looking for a fight or whatever. He handles it well. Everybody knows who the fuck he is. He cannot walk anywhere without somebody being like, hey, Transformers, Holes, whatever the fuck he's been in. I mean, he was just in Megaopolis. He's in a Francis Ford Coppola film. And that must be difficult to deal with. And from more of a humanitarian perspective, I can only imagine. Obviously I'm not famous. I've never felt that feeling that he feels where he walks into fucking public square and everybody looks at him like, oh, Shia LaBeouf. They know his name. They know a lot about you, but they never met you. They don't really know you. So it must be a little confusing. And anyways, we're talking about the star of Transformers. We're talking about someone who is, I think he's been famous longer than most of his life, longer than he's been alive. I guess I would say before he was famous, he's been famous longer than the time before he was, right? And I don't know, give this guy the benefit of the doubt. I'm not worried for the fucking guy. I saw he was actually shooting a movie in Carmel. I read something about that, and it's I wonder if he's coming back to set. I'm sure he is, and if he was shooting a movie here, then why the fuck is he in New Orleans? But besides the point, I have no problem with him wanting to go out, have a good time. I don't even really care what he does. But yeah, it just seems like he was a little loose cannon, I guess, out and about, partying, drinking. From what I read, he went into an all-cash bar and tried to pay with a credit card. And you know what? Look, maybe he was being a complete prick. Maybe he was just blacked out. Who knows? But he ended up in jail, and, headlines came out saying how he and Mia Goth split up and all this other drama and all this, TMZ headline shit. And it's fuck, man, even his private life isn't private. And I get it, it's the price you pay when you want to be somebody in the public eye. But aside from his public life, his acting career, it's had its ups and downs. I remember that Tax Collector movie. I wasn't a fan. I saw he went all out and got all the fucking tats, and He really committed. But I will talk about some of the work that I think he has done that's really good. Aside from Holes, which everyone knows Holes is a fucking classic. It's a 10 out of 10, you know. I'm tired, Grandpa. Everyone knows the quotes. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves Zero. Everyone loves Stanley yelling at Sploosh. The Fonz. Everybody's in it. It's just a great movie. Maybe John Voight's in it too. I think everyone's in that fucking movie. Sigourney. I love it. But, you know, a movie that I think gets overlooked quite often is his film American Honey. And I won't say it's his film necessarily. It's Andrea Arnold. I believe she's a Scottish filmmaker. It's funny. This movie, I think, came out in 2016. I remember watching it with Stevie. And it like was the movie before I really wanted to get back, because I got out of film school, and then like film was like, it was tough. I like at that point I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make a movie, because it was feeling like I had like so much else going on in my life. And I was like, you know, I watched this movie, and I remember watching American Honey. It was a hot summer day. And I literally, like Stevie and I both said, I was like, we got to make a movie. It was that type of movie. It was so fucking good. It made me say to myself, I'm like, this makes me inspired. It makes me want to go out and make something. And it wasn't just, I can't remember her name, the lead actress. She goes by Star in the film. She was a non-actor. Andrea Arnold actually found her on a beach in Florida, from what I remember the story being, and like shoulder tapped her and said, hey, like I'm making this movie, American Honey. You look like the person I want to be in it. She's like, I guess. So she got dragged into this film, and then, you know, she ends up going up against Shia LaBeouf. Pretty crazy, right? And Shia's performance in this movie was fucking unreal. It was not only like, the film is not only like, I guess, how do I pitch it? It's about a girl from a broken home who's taking care of like her family, like the kids, and it's not her kids, but like her dad's kids, right? It's her, you know, siblings. And the dad's like an alcoholic, and he's trying to fill her up. It's disgusting. It's like complete trash, trailer trash, lifestyle shit, you know, incestual vibes. It's gross. And she ends up meeting Shia LaBeouf while she's dumpster diving at like a Kmart. She goes in there to look for some other shit, and she sees him, and he kind of just sees her, and they have that instant connection. And he kind of says like, hey, why don't you come with us? We got this van. We're traveling around. Why don't you come with? And like, she doesn't even know what they're doing. And she's like, I don't know. Like, I got people to take care of. Kind of cuts away. We see her home life is terrible. She ends up leaving. And she goes on this like kind of odyssey through, I guess, the American South in the Midwest with Shia and the rest of these people. And yeah, they sell magazines, which it seems like the magazine thing is just a front to get cash up front. I don't even know if they ever deliver on actually selling these magazines. It's kind of, it seems like they're kind of scamming. They're going door to door, just kind of trying to see who they can prey upon and get a quick buck. And Riley Keough, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She plays like kind of like, she's not a pimp, but she's the one who's in charge of this operation, right? And Shia is trying to solicit her, Star, as like his love interest, right? Because he's the one who like brings her in. He's kind of like the handler. He goes and gets all the people that are going to come in. He's fucking smooth as fuck in this movie. He's really like, I mean, he's quite a salesman, not just selling the magazines, right? He's selling her, he's selling the group. We can do this, you know? But the Riley Keough character, she's like the one in charge. And she and Shia kind of have this like sexual relationship. And then Shia and Star kind of have this sexual relationship. And it's a very strange movie. And even pitching it right now, it sounds strange. But I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, go find it. Go watch it. I want to say 2016. It is just such a good, not even just like a portrait of that time in America, but also of like, you know, a certain class in America. And I'm not trying to disparage. I'm saying like, this is like a lower class of people that are coming from broken homes. Maybe they're not necessarily drug addicts or anything, but like they don't come from much. And seeing the way she depicted it. And also like, I say this sometimes too, like I was just in Europe. I can see Europe through the American lens, right? My lens, the California lens, the Catholic lens, whatever you want to call it. While Andrea Arnold is looking at it through maybe her Scottish lens. And I saw her other movie, Red Room, I believe is what it's called. I think it takes place in Glasgow. But she sees America through her lens. And it's a unique perspective, but it's also showing me things that I'm like, wow, like I never looked at it like that. And, you know, ironically, or not even ironically, interestingly enough, a lot of the vibes I get from American Honey I actually see reflected in shows like Landman. Not the same, but similar. And maybe aesthetically and the type of people. There's some scenes that like they go to like a group of cowboys are having a party drinking fucking mezcal. And she goes to their house. I'm like, this could have been a scene out of fucking Landman. Like I'm connecting it now. But besides the point, Shia LaBeouf's performance in this, changed my opinion on him because I'd seen him in other shit. Of course, I've seen the hits. Like I mentioned, Holes, Transformers, whatever the fuck else he was in between. You know, I know there's like that Peanut Butter Falcon. He's got a lot of movies. But if you're going to watch a Shia LaBeouf movie to redeem him in your eyes or make you see his true potential, American Honey is the film. It's probably his finest work. I don't know. I haven't talked to Shia LaBeouf about it, but if I could, I would talk about American Honey. I'd say, what was that experience like? How did you feel about that movie overall? Because I think it was just, you know, it's interesting too. He's supposed to be a guy from Bakersfield. It just had such a purity and realism to it that was just, it was honest. Very honest filmmaking, very genuine, very authentic. And just thinking about it now, like that's the Shia LaBeouf that I, you know, think maybe perhaps this is what I'm trying to get to. Maybe it reflected his real personality the best. And of course it's acting. It's obviously fake. It's not really who he is. But this movie had this like sense of organicness that when you watch it, you buy into it. The suspension of disbelief is there fully. And he's just truly talented in it. And it's really changed my opinion. So like to get to even further my point, I guess, despite all the bad behavior, whatever you want to call it, I think Shia LaBeouf's a generational talent. He's somebody who, if I had the chance to work with, I would love to work with him. But, you know, let's just hope whatever's going on in his life, he, you know, gets past it. For all I know, he's just off blowing off some steam. You know what I mean? Like he's not trying to do the damage that is being reflected in the media. I saw he got out of jail, by the way. He was out having a burger, back on fucking bourbon, fucking hanging out. Man of the people, which I respect too. I mean, some people come up to him and try and film him and ask him questions, and like he's not even rude, but he's kind of like, hey dude, like give him one-line answers. Like some reporter went up to him and was trying to be like, hey, like how are you enjoying New Orleans? He goes, I love the people. What's your favorite thing about Mardi Gras? The people. And then he just kind of grabs the mic. He goes, hey, like we're done here. Like I gave you the attention you wanted. Please let me be. And like, you know what? He could say nothing at all. He could be a dick. And like, even if you think he's being an asshole, like put yourself in his fucking shoes. He is probably getting that 24/7. I think he just wants to go out and feel normal. That's why he keeps pushing through. I think he's like, if I'm just out here long enough, maybe people just won't give a fuck about me and think like, oh, it's Shia LaBeouf. Like maybe they'll just be, hey, it's some guy. And I don't know. This is just my personal take. But anyways, God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. David Mamet and him did a great pod with Santino and fucking Bobby Lee. I think it was the Better Friends podcast. And I remember this was the last time I really saw Shia talking, and he seemed really good. He seemed super like, I don't know, just in a good place. Mamet's awesome. I can't remember the movie they made together. I remember it had the guy from Easy. He's also in another movie. I think it was Brie Larson or fucking Dave Franco's other movie, but he's a good actor. I can't remember his name. He's really good. He plays one of the brothers that's brothers with Dave Franco in the TV series Easy, but I still have yet to watch it. I think it's like a prison movie maybe, but Mamet's interesting. I think his relationship with Shia was good. He seemed to really get through to Shia LaBeouf, and like, I don't know. This is all stemming from the headline I read, right? But on that note, I think it's just important to bring to light maybe some of Shia LaBeouf's better work. And yeah, I really like, I'll just say this one more time. I think he is a generational talent. He's somebody who, when I'm talking about movies with Stevie and ideas, his name comes up a lot. And, you know, never say never. Obviously, like to work with somebody on that scale, there needs to also be like, you know, money to pay him. And when we get to that road, perhaps we'll cross it, or whatever, that bridge will cross it. But yeah, he's somebody who I've had my eye on, and I think he's quite the talent. I said the same thing about Simon Rex before fucking Sean Baker got him. I said, God damn, Simon Rex, he's kind of an untapped talent. And sure enough, he goes on to be in Red Rocket, and he ends up at, Cannes in a fucking, a hit movie. So I don't know. People go through ups and downs in their career. Shia, I don't think he's on a down. I think he's just at a bad moment, and hopefully he bounces back, and I'm wishing him well. I think I can't say enough good about him as an actor, and even his personal life. People are gonna do what they want to do. Free will. Fuck. Anyways, that was interesting. I listened to the Joe Rogan, Roger Avery podcast. I thought that was interesting as well. Roger Avery, the first time I watched him talk on Rogan, he was talking with Tarantino and him together. And if you don't know Roger Avery, he's a co-writer of Pulp Fiction. He made some other movies. Goddamn, I can't think of it. I think it's the Rules of Engagement, or maybe Rules of Attraction. That's the film. I'm not that familiar with his body of work, to be quite frank. I know him mostly for Pulp Fiction, but I listened to him on Rogan, and dude, he is an interesting guy. I like him. I think the first time I heard him, I thought, okay, a little like, over talking people and shit. And then I watched him on this one. And he's like kind of like a black pill dude. I'd even call clear pill. This guy doesn't believe in anything. Like everything to him is a fucking conspiracy theory or whatever. But the reason I even bring him up is that he was talking about AI and filmmaking, and he is in the boat of like pro AI, which I'm kind of 50-50 on it. There's some things I appreciate, and then some things like I don't want movies to be fully made by AI. I think that's not good because, I love filming and I've invested so much time in learning cinematography and shit. Like, I don't want to see people just type a prompt in and be like, all right, the movie's done. Like, also, like, think of all the people and like the magic of movies. It's just not, not for me. But I do see some of the benefits as well. Like, if I want script coverage, I can just put a script into fucking AI and be like, hey, like, what type of like studio do you think would finance this or that? Like, something that you'd usually have to pay for, right? Or if I want special effects done, perhaps if I get the right software and I want to have like, let's just say like a spaceship fly over my house, maybe I use AI for that because I can't fucking create that effect. These are very off the cuff, examples, but he said he couldn't get a movie made the last few years. And then he decided to open up his own production company paired with an AI company. And now he's like, I got fully funded. 3 fucking movies are coming out one after one. He said, he's really using the AI for visual effects. He's like, if you just put the name AI next to your fucking movie or your company or whatever, he's like, boom, you will get them to come because we're in the AI gold rush right now, okay? And it's a race. You got to pump the oil while it's in the fucking ground. You got to mine the gold while it's there. And that's exactly right. That's what I think even like myself, other filmmakers that are a little ahead of the curve and aren't ignorant to the fact that this is the ever-changing world of Hollywood. You cannot ignore AI. You cannot run away from it. You have to look at it and think like, how long is this good thing going to last before it's gone or before it becomes so easy no one else is going to give a fuck about your skills with it, right? And so that's been something that's been top of mind. But Roger Avery in his podcast with Joe Rogan, he really like, dug that home and tried to make it a point that AI isn't like this big evil thing. I do think there is some like potential for AI to be bad. Like, look, like I'm a Terminator fan. Like when you hear AI, you're like, oh shit, don't let it become sentient. We don't want any fucking problems with the AI. Like, and look, if AI becomes sentient, it's coming for me first. I have motherfucked ChatGPT and Grok so many times, it's on me if they do get pissed. But besides the point, he was kooky too. He talked about a lot of shit. He talked 9/11. He talked conspiracy. He talked, some of the shit. He was flat earthing. I'm like, dude, come on. That's one of the ones where I'm just like, I don't know, man. Flat earth, a little too kooky for me. But anyways, it was interesting. I really liked what he had to say about AI though. And like, for the most part, like I'll say this, he was not afraid to express his opinion. And at the very least, I respect somebody so high profile. And look, he's not the fucking greatest movie director ever, but this guy's won an Oscar for screenwriting. He's nothing to sniff at. But he was unrepressed, and I respect him for at least speaking his mind and not being afraid of the consequences. He even said it on there. He's like, people are gonna come after me just for being on there. He's like, the first time I did this with Quentin and fucking Joe, he's like, he was telling Joe it. He's like, people came after me. He's like, and this time, he's like, they're gonna come after me again. And I think we're kind of in like, I've talked about cancel culture and like just voicing your opinion on things and shit, and like, I think we're living in a time where it's like, fuck it. People are going to believe what they want to believe anyways. You don't have to go out on the fucking horn and broadcast it to the world. But for someone like him to do it and just sincerely not give a fuck, hats off, dude. Like, you truly do not give a fuck what anyone thinks about you. And it actually was a little inspiring. I was like, God damn, like he's just going for it. He's not worried about being judged. He's not worried about what someone thinks about his opinion. And he's a smart guy, despite all of his, like, some of his kooky out there theories. All in all, I really respect Avery for at least speaking his mind and not being afraid to have a fucking backbone. He's very convinced of his convictions. And, I take everything with a grain of salt. There's certain things I'll stand by for sure. But, I'm open-minded and, even hearing him talk, like, some I agreed with, some I disagreed with. I don't know. It's just interesting. I will say this too, just like in general, like if you're a person who's like worried about being like held to something, like, like you're free to change your mind at any time. You don't have to be held to an idea just because you said something or you believed in something at one point. Like, and I think that's kind of part of like the problem with life right now is people are just so like if you say something or you believe something or you did this or you did that once, like you're locked into that narrative for life. He's like, absolutely fucking not. New information can come to light. You can have new experiences. Things can change. People can change. You can change. So don't, ever feel like you're locked into something just because somebody tells you like, well, once you said this or you did that. It's like, fuck that. You're free to change your mind at any point. It's a little bit more life advice, I guess. And I guess it was inspired by Avery because he was very fucking just not giving a fuck. Anyways, I did watch the movies this week. I watched 2 movies in particular. The first movie I watched was So I Married an Axe Murderer, 1993. Director Thomas Shalom. Writer Robbie Fox. Principal cast was Mike Myers, Nancy Travis, Amanda Plummer, and Anthony LaPaglia. Now, I really watched this movie because I hadn't seen it before. And I actually saw Anthony was in the garage at our buddy Mark's house. And the poster was on the wall. And I saw it. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, that's like one of those Mike Myers movies. Like, I've seen the poster a million fucking times. Just never watched it. It's also from the year I was born, so 93. And I was like, okay, well, this thing's like, 32, 33 years old. But I think it's time to watch it. So anyways, I threw it on and I thought it was going to be different than what it was. It was interesting. So like the first 70 minutes of this picture are fucking, how do I say this? Like a rom-com almost. It wasn't like, it was almost like Mike Myers is like this. He's like a performance artist. He goes up and like does like jazz cafe, like where he does like, there's like a jazz band playing and he kind of like does a poetry to it. Very 90s. All right. Remind me of an extremely goofy movie when they go to college and people are like snapping in the fucking audience to like clap. And what do they call that? Slam poetry? That type of shit. It was, not my thing, but like I was like, okay, I get it. And anyways, he's been dating around. He's like a bachelor. And then he ends up meeting this girl who works at a meat shop, like a butcher. And it was super random. He meets her and then it kind of cuts between his romance with her and then his family. And it was funny. His family's like super Scottish. His dad is basically like a prototype for Fat Bastard, which, it's funny. I saw so much, like despite Mike Myers not writing it or being the director or having a director maybe he works with constantly. Like I think it's Mike Judge. He might've been the guy who directed the Austin Powers films. There was so much DNA of Mike Myers' career in this movie, which was almost confusing. There was so much of him, like not only him playing like himself twice, right? That was something he did, obviously in Austin Powers, but the dad was like the Scottish guy. It was basically, like I said, prototype for Fat Bastard. Mike Myers himself was doing a lot of his physical comedy and like his joking around, but like it was so disjointed. And perhaps that's why this movie didn't stick around in the long run. Or maybe, I saw it today or this week, right? And so it did stick around, but it just didn't seem like there's something up watching it, right? I'm like, the tone isn't bad, but it's like, it got like towards the like third act. I'm like, God damn, I feel like this third act, or I feel like the second act should have happened like 20 minutes before the third act started. It was almost like one big first act and then it went into the third act. And the third act was like thriller. Basically, let me get to the point of the plot. Mike Myers thinks the girl he's dating may be a fucking killer because he sees this, his mom reads like one of those tabloid news magazines. I can't remember what it was, but she reads it and it's like all the bullshit things like, oh, axe murderer woman, whatever, like kills her husbands. They call her like Mrs. X. And like, anyways, he starts to suspect that his girl that he's dating is actually this Mrs. X. But the first, like I said, 70 minutes is kind of them just hanging out, romance. He introduces her to the family. His friend is a cop who comes into play later. They go on like double dates, but like he kind of asks her like, hey, like he has suspicions she might be this killer, but he goes and he looks up her file and he's like, hey, like I looked into those murders. Like, I don't think she's the one. All right. So he marries her. And then like when they're going on their like honeymoon, which is like a fucking hotel, it looks like in like the Redwood Forest. That's when his friend finds out like, hey, like actually like the person who confessed to the murders of these other people was actually full of shit and has confessed to the murders of like Abraham Lincoln and everybody else. Like, okay, so obviously she's a nut. Long story short, it ends up being the girl's roommate who's the killer. And she's been like leaving notes and making it seem like Mrs. X, the girl that Mike Myers' character actually marries, is actually the killer, which it's not. It's like her sister or a friend. Long story short, for a 70-minute rom-com to go into the last 20 minutes or 25 minutes, being this like murder thriller, it didn't make any sense. I even looked it up. I was like, what was going on with this movie when it got made? It said they like rewrote it constantly. the script was jumbled. They said they were rewriting on set, and they said like even like critics and like including like the cast and crew, they're like, yeah, like we kind of winged it, and then when we got to the end, it felt like it was fucking just kind of slapped in there. And I say all this to say this: the movie wasn't that bad. I still enjoyed it for what it's worth, but you can tell they were just figuring it out. Like this group of people, even Mike Myers. I know he had made Wayne's World previously, from what he said, but this movie was fucking just, it was all over the place, and I still enjoyed it. I'm still going to remember it, but like the things I'm going to remember are like Mike Myers' comedy, him playing himself in more than one role, also doing like the accents and shit, you know, and obviously he's great as Austin Powers. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. Fat Bastard's a great character. I didn't realize how much like heritage he had in like Scotland, and like, I know he's Canadian, but I said his parents, I think, are from the UK. And like, I was listening to a pod with him the other day, which is probably why I subconsciously wanted to watch this. Where he's talking about how he was doing a lot of like, you know, improv comedy, you know, in fucking London for a long time. And it's just interesting, like how he's a very hybrid person. And obviously if you've seen films like Shrek, like Shrek's accent is very derivative of like that UK, like Scottish accent. It's just interesting. I saw so much of his early, in this movie show it's like a foreshadow of who he becomes. And he really, like, I think if he didn't make this movie, there perhaps wouldn't have been Austin Powers in the form that it is, because sometimes you got to just make something to get through it. And I understand he made Wayne's before, but like you got to make something to get through it, to get to your style. It's like writing scripts. You write, and then eventually you write one and you're like, well, fuck. Like I remember the first time I wrote a script where I'm like, I had the breakthrough. It was a script called Tinseltown. I wrote it and I'm like, holy fucking shit, I get it. Like it was, I was excited. I was telling people, I'm like, dude, I get it. I understand how to do this now. And I think maybe he had that same epiphany there. And I'm not saying he wasn't talented before. I know he's an SNL star. He'd done tons of shit before, but this movie must have been a breakthrough for him, despite any critical, you know, I guess critique. This made him make those other movies. I think Austin Powers came out in 95, maybe 97. So like sometimes you have to go through it to get to the next thing. Also, I have in my notes here, something else he did. He used hit songs. I know Mike Myers probably wasn't the one doing the needle drops in this movie, but it was like reminiscent of Shrek. Like, you know, Shrek has like fucking starts off with Smash Mouth's All Star. It's a fucking hit song. Like it's undeniably good. This movie, every song was a hit. They were 90s, late 80s hits, but it was interesting because like these days, I feel like people want too much money to put a good song in their fucking movie, right? Or it's just like top 40. They're like, we're going to cherry pick some fucking hit. Like, let's just say for the example, they're going to put like Billie Eilish or Sabrina Carpenter right into a movie for the fuck of it. Or like Bad Bunny. They're just going to put a song in and be like, yo, he's hot right now. We're going to use his music. Rightfully so. But this, you know, taste that he has for film, I think, or not film, but music in his film, it's very much reflected even in this movie. So that's something I thought was unique and something that I feel like he's carried out throughout all of his films in his career. But anyway, so I Married an Axe Murderer in 1993. Mike Myers, not bad. A little middle of the road, but for what it's worth, it's kind of like the type of movie I throw on like a rainy day, which was literally when I watched it. So it's good. And, you know, Mike Myers, it was good to see him. You know, he's a fucking cool actor. I haven't really seen him in much since, damn, you know, I'm trying to think. The last thing I think I saw him in was Inglourious Bastards, 2009. I'm not saying he's not in other shit. I know he did another show on Netflix, but you just don't see him that much anymore. And he's a fucking, you know, he's a true great. And for what it's worth, I laughed. There's great comedy, great humor. I've been watching a lot of comedy lately. I think I've been just wanting to laugh and be uplifted, and you can't all be downer all the time, which is ironic because the other movie I'm going to talk about is The Black Phone, 2021. The Black Phone was interesting. You know, I've seen this movie floating around out there. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I decided to watch it. It was on Netflix. Stevie and Christina actually watching, like, you got to watch The Black Phone. I'm like, fuck. All right. Let's do it. So, The Black Phone, 2021, director Scott Derrickson, writer Scott Derrickson, and C. Robert Cargill, Cargill. Principal cast was Ethan Hawke, Mason Thames, Madeline McGraw, and Jeremy Davies. Now, Ethan Hawke, obviously, I am familiar with. Jeremy Davies, very familiar with. I've watched a few interesting films with him. I just watched Saving Private Ryan. He kind of plays the typewriter guy, the little, like, kind of the grunt of the group, who his character arc is finally learning how to be a soldier. I also watched a really interesting movie with him a while ago called Locust, or maybe it's The Locust, but it was with Vince Vaughn. It was this real 90s indie movie. I don't think many people have watched it, or maybe they have, but he played this guy on like a slaughterhouse, and like his character was fucking really interesting. That whole movie was interesting. It was very dark. But anyways, I'm familiar with him. And in this movie, he plays the dad of Mason Thames and Madeline McGraw's character. I'll pitch the movie. Basically, there's a series of disappearances going on in northern Denver. And Mason Thames and his sister, Madeline McGraw, their friends start disappearing, particularly the Mason Thames character. And the sister, the Madeline McGraw character, she is seeing visions of the people that have disappeared. She saw like black balloons, and the police are calling her out of class. They're like, how did you fucking know there was black balloons there? Because we found a pop black balloon at the scene of the abductions multiple times, right? And she's like, I don't know. I don't have any idea why this is happening to me, but I am seeing it. So maybe she's a little clairvoyant or something going on, right? Maybe she has like astral projection. Who knows, right? Or what do they call it in the CIA? Remote viewing. So the brother is kind of like whatever. And then the brother's kind of like a pussy. He gets beat up at school. And then there's this like friend, Robin, who like helps defend him. And like, he's the tough kid. And then that kid we see get abducted by a guy with like a van and black balloons. In this case, it's Ethan Hawke's character. It's no secret in the movie. You know, it's Ethan Hawke. We see kind of we don't really see what happens to him, but then eventually the Mason Thames kid actually gets abducted and we see the abduction happen. We see Ethan Hawke with the black balloons, the van. He throws a kid in there, locks him in a basement. The movie was interesting. You know, it was a slow burn horror, took its time. It made you guess, made you think. All the little things that happened throughout the film were motivated. I'd say even Signs-esque, not the same, but in the same way, like, you know, the little girl's filling up glasses of water and everyone's like, I don't know why she's doing it. It all pays off in the end though, right? They use the water to kill the aliens. In this case, the kid's doing shit that he's in this basement, right? And there's this phone that rings and like, it's one of those movies where it doesn't really explain what's going on, but eventually you kind of just put it together for yourself. And like the kid would get calls and it was from the other people that had been abducted or disappeared, right? And it was almost like they were calling him from the other side, like, you know, beyond the afterlife, right? Giving him tips of like how to survive and how to beat this guy. He's playing a game, naughty boy, right? Locked in the basement. Ethan Hawke's character comes down and he wants the kid to try and escape so he has a reason to kill him or hurt him. And the kid's just like, well, I'm not going to leave, like, because he's getting information through the phone of like how to play the game, how to win. And all the information he gets from all the people that had died previously adds up and it all leads to his escape in the end, right? But, you know, I see that they just made a black phone too, and I understand why. Like, the idea was good. The concept was unique. It wasn't too dark, even though just by, you know, I think sometimes when you have a movie about child being abducted, it can get real fucking dark real fast because nobody wants to see that, one. And two, it's, you know, it's evil. It's just pure evil. And even this character that Ethan Hawke played was complete evil. I can't remember what his character's name was in the film, but Mr. Something. It was just terrifying. You know, the character wore masks and he kind of like, you know, taunted the kids, and ultimately his goal was to try and provoke them so he could hurt them or murder them, right? But between the kid being locked down there, the phone giving him advice, and then the sister having her clairvoyant abilities, and the dad was mean. The Jeremy Davies character was like an alcoholic father who beat the kids, and like he didn't want the daughter. He beat the daughter even. There's a really hard to watch scene of the daughter getting spanked with like a belt, and he's just like, you can't see shit, you can't hear shit in your head, your dreams, like, don't have them. The police are calling me up because your dreams are fucking drawing the cops over. And it really made you think like, God damn, like, is this guy just like, you know, why is he doing this? And he kind of explains to the daughter later, like, hey, your mom used to have the same thing where she would see visions or have these dreams, and eventually it led her to kill herself. And the daughter's like, well, I don't plan on doing that, but like, I am having these things. And basically her visions and her clairvoyance or projection, or what I said, remote viewing, leads to her being able to find out where this black phone basement is, whatever, the guy's house, right? The killer's house. And it was just interesting. It was different for a horror movie, very mainstream. I guess I slept on it. You know, I did appreciate it for what it's worth. I know it's Blumhouse. I got to see the sequel now. I think it came out pretty recently, maybe recently as of last year. Maybe even this year. I want to say last year for sure, probably last Halloween, but it was good. Also honorable mention, J. Gavin Wild. He's in The Righteous Gemstones. He had a small part in the beginning of this film, but he's a cool talent, you know, someone to keep an eye on. He gets kind of beat up by the Robin character in the beginning of this film, but it was funny because, you know, I follow him on Instagram and I've talked to him a few times, and I see him in this fucking movie. I'm like, oh, it's the guy who played the young version of Jesse Gemstone, Danny McBride's character in The Righteous Gemstones. So it's always funny. And also this movie is supposed to be in northern Denver, but it was actually shot in fucking North Carolina. So I imagine he was a local hire, and it's just interesting. Like, you don't know where the film community is at this point. And I say this all the time. Like, Hollywood is the name of a town. It's not necessarily where Hollywood exists as it used to. And yeah, it was good. It was a great production. And, you know, between the production has moved so much into so many places. Like, you know, even a North Carolina shoot doubling as Denver, it was, you know, fooled me, and it was good enough to like make me be like, okay, I accept that. Also, this Mason Thames kid, I saw he's in that new How to Train Your Dragon live action film. So like, obviously the Black Phone was a big hit. It led to him, you know, getting even more work. And for what it's worth, I really liked the movie. I'm excited to see the sequel. It was scary, but it wasn't so fucking like, you know, I was telling Stevie, because it was Ethan Hawke, I was like, you know, if you haven't seen it, like, you got to watch Sinister. And I think that's on the list for next week. But, you know, Sinister is one of those horror movies that was just truly terrifying. Real fucking scary picture. Real scary. I mean, maybe one of the actual, like there's like scary, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, it's fun to watch scary. And then there's like, I fucking don't want to watch this alone scary. Sinister is like, I don't want to watch this alone scary. Keep the lights on, you know? Anyways, I digress. Great movie. Black Phone was cool. I think I'm going to keep burning through Better Call Saul this week. And yeah, just keep watching movies. I've been on a big watching binge. You know, once Stevie's feeling better, we're going to hit the ground running with another feature. Like, it's a matter of time. I've been just getting my house in order, you know, making sure I'm prepared for war, but we're getting close. And, you know, even the podcast has been like something nice to lean on in between all that. So been cooking that up, working on cinematography. Probably write something soon. Honestly, like, I won't lie, I've been a little dry on the pen just because I've been busy. It's not even that I don't want to write. No, that's not fair to say. I've been writing shorts because I want to have stuff that I can just make. And even when Stevie's just feeling good, I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's go and just do this thing. Keep our, you know, our chops up. But the next feature's coming soon. I can feel it. I think everything's turning around in that respect. And, you know, this is a terrible time of the year to even shoot outside. Like, today was fucking freezing. We've been building fire, staying in, like I said. And once the weather's good, once we're into the spring, getting into summer, it's go time. You know, even Peninsula Nights, we shot it, I think we started shooting in June. It was a long shoot, like I said. We went June to August. I was down and out with some health problems in between for 2 months. And then we got back to it and we shot through the winter, but it got brutal to shoot in the winter because it got so cold. It wasn't even the rain. It was just the cold. You know, I remember one night we shot on Scenic out in Carmel by the sea, and it was fucking almost raining, you know, and I just didn't give a fuck. I just kind of sat over the camera and I let it fall. But anyways, I digress. It's been a good week. Been cold, been rainy, been windy, been bundled up by the fucking fire, watching Better Call Saul and a couple great flicks. I think that's about all I got, guys. We'll definitely talk again next week. My buddy Anthony's coming down. I might even do another special bonus pod this weekend with the boys, Stevie and Ant. And yeah. So anyways, I'm Devin Thomas, and this is another episode of Unscripted. I'll talk to you all next week.